Hey, I told you, right? If you need something from Kevin, let me know. Kevin is too busy to check his own phone. I was taken aback by the sudden change in Cassie. It was the first time I'd seen her so fired up. I guess I was at fault for breaking the promise, so I decided to back down for now. But I shouldn't have believed Cassie's word. That became clear with a phone call from Kevin, the first time in 3 years. You might have heard from Cassie, but dairy farming isn't exactly a lucrative business. So, the $4,000 a month hospital bills for Dad that we've been sending for over 3 years now. We cannot do this anymore. At that moment, I couldn't quite grasp what Kevin was saying. What? Dad passed away 3 years ago. What are you talking about? What do you mean? I hadn't heard anything about Dad dying. I had believed Cassie had informed him about my husband's passing. And what about the so-called hospital bills, the $4,000 a month? How could she justify that? Knowing all the facts made me furious, but I decided to leave it up to Kevin to handle. My name is Susan Turner, a 60-year-old homemaker. I married my husband, who is 10 years older than me, and we have 2 children, a son and a daughter, and built a simple yet happy family life. And after more than 30 years of marriage, our eldest son Kevin, who is turning 30, is getting married. His fiancée is a younger colleague from the same company, named Cassie Johnson. Cassie was raised on a dairy farm in Vermont and moved to a city after graduating high school. Kevin brought her my home to introduce her to my family. Cassie, having grown up in such a tranquil environment, was a gentle and kind young lady. I thought she would surely be a wonderful wife. But then, Kevin talked to us like hesitate to say. So, I'm thinking of succeeding a farm of Cassie's family. Kevin explained that Cassie, being an only daughter, needs man to take over their dairy farming business. Upon hearing Kevin's sudden intention to become the successor of a dairy farm, I worried about him. Is that really okay? You don't have any experience. Cassie responded me with smile. It's fine. My dad mentioned they'll start teaching him from scratch. Well, I do like animals, so I'll give it my best shot once I start learning the job. More importantly, the issue of me, the eldest son, going to Cassie's side. My husband and I exchanged glances, but we didn't oppose about it. We felt secure because we have a reliable daughter. Emily, our daughter, is 27 years old. Although she is single and living at home, her boyfriend lives close by. Emily's boyfriend frequently visits our home, and we have developed a good relationship with him. To put Kevin at ease, Emily said, "Don't worry about it, brother. If I get married, I'll either live near our parents, or, if he's okay with it, we might even consider living together." Kevin felt relieved to hear her words. We would be also happy if Kevin finds happiness with someone he loves. Then, Kevin got married and started living in Vermont, near his in-laws. However, as soon as we sent him to Vermont, some issues were revealed in their married life. It had been a month since Kevin got married, but there had been no contact from him. He must be working hard at the dairy farm by now, that's what I thought, so I didn't reach out to him. Then, after a while, Cassie visited our home alone. I asked if Kevin was not with her. Dairy farming doesn't pay well, so I got a job over there. It's a branch of the company I used to work for, so I'll have business trips here occasionally. That's why I'll come to visit when I'm in town. Wow, having business trips even though you're married, that's a tough job. I expressed my surprise, but Cassie remained unfazed. No, it's not that unusual these days. Especially for dairy farmers, it's common for both spouses to work. Oh, and since Kevin is too busy to get in touch, if you have any messages for him, I can relay them. So, please contact me on my cell phone from now on. After delivering her message, Cassie quickly left our home as if she was busy. Kevin must really be busy, I thought, but decided to at least report that Cassie had visited, and sent a message to Kevin's cell phone. Days passed, but there is no read mark on the message. I just wish he could at least find the time to read my messages. But thinking of Kevin struggling with the unfamiliar work of dairy farming, I resigned myself to the fact that it couldn't be helped. After that, Cassie started coming to our place once a month. Wondering if she was traveling so much, I asked her. "Must be tough for you too, huh? With the times being what they are, your husband doing dairy farming while you also work at the company, then don't you guys ever run out of couple time?" "No, it's fine." "But why do you ask?" "Well, I thought Kevin was busy, so instead of calling, I sent a message, but he didn't even read it." As I said that, Cassie's expression instantly turned stern. Didn't I say it? When you have something to tell Kevin, please tell me. Kevin is so busy he hardly has time to look at his phone." I couldn't help but I was so surprised at Cassie's sudden change. It was the first time I had seen Cassie so confrontational. Well, I thought I was at fault for breaking the promise, so for now, I decided to concede. "I'm sorry. From now on, I'll do that. So, please tell him when I have something to say to my son." I apologized like that, but Cassie still looked suspicious. Did I do something so wrong? Unable to understand Cassie's feelings, I just silently watched her leave without saying anything. Then, some time has passed. And my husband ended up being hospitalized due to a sudden illness. Despite being in full nursing care, I made sure to visit the hospital every day for my husband. Even when Cassie came, I was too busy to spend time with her. Yet Cassie continued to visit our home as usual. When I talked about my husband's hospitalization, she replied casually, "Oh, I see. That's tough. Well, that's how it is, so I can't really talk to you even if you come over. Because it's during a business trip, it's hard to ask her for assistance." Still, I secretly wished Cassie would at least offer to help with a word like, "Can I do anything for you?" Got it. I'll refrain from visiting from now on. Oh, and make sure to let Kevin know that Dad's in the hospital. But he seems busy, so it's not a good time for him to come. So, just tell him not to worry. Sure, then see you. I asked her about it and she left my house. Are all young wives these days like that? Even upon hearing that her father-in-law was hospitalized, there wasn't a word of consolation. Cassie's indifferent demeanor somehow didn't sit well with me. Then, a few days later, my husband's condition took a turn for the worse. I tried calling Kevin in a panic, but couldn't get through no matter how many times I tried. Unable to help it, I reached out to Cassie's smartphone, and she answered right away. Turns out Cassie happened to be nearby on a business trip. I was about to ask her to get in touch with Kevin. "I'll head there right away. Please tell me the name of the hospital he's admitted to." So I gave her the name of the hospital, and Cassie came over. However, shortly after that, my husband quietly passed away. When Cassie arrived, our family was engulfed in grief. He passed away. I'm sorry I couldn't make it in time. I'll call Kevin now, Cassie said, heading towards the lobby. When Cassie returned after a while, she had a somewhat flustered expression. I'm sorry. Right now, a calf seems to be about to be born. Since it's the first pregnant cow for Kevin, so he has to stay with her all the time. He won't make it to the funeral. So, instead, I'll help with everything of the funeral preparations. Upon hearing those words, the family became agitated. Is dairy farming really that tough of a job? I felt a pang in my chest when I thought about Kevin, who's so busy that he can't even attend his parents' funeral. Still, I couldn't bring myself to express my feelings to Cassie, who was offering to help. There was no other choice, so the funeral had to proceed without Kevin. But beside me, silent without saying anything, Emily had an unpleasant expression on her face. It seems like she harbors some distrust towards Cassie. And it's been 3 years since my husband passed away. During these 3 years, although Cassie occasionally visits our house, there has been no contact with Kevin whatsoever. Even though he's the eldest son, once he gets married, he completely goes to his wife's side. Moreover, the job of dairy farming, which I can't even imagine because I live in a city. I couldn't even contact them because I was too preoccupied with worrying about my in-laws. However, distrust towards Cassie gradually swells. Cassie still insists that Kevin is too busy and can't spare a moment, but he should at least have time to check his messages. Maybe Cassie is hiding something? Actually, after my husband's funeral, I heard this story from Emily. I was walking in the downtown with friends late at night, and I saw Cassie walking around in a really flashy outfit. I wonder if she's really here on business? At that time, I denied and told her not to suspect people, but now I find myself increasingly suspicious of Cassie. One day, something unexpected happened. My phone received a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, I was surprised by the voice on the phone. Ah. Finally got through. Hello, it's me. Huh? Is this Kevin? It was Kevin's voice, which I hadn't heard in almost 3 years. What's up? Did you change your number? Something was wrong for a while. No matter how many times I tried calling Mom or Emily, I couldn't get through. It seemed like they were always on the phone. I couldn't hide my surprise at Kevin's words. Neither Emily nor I were big on making phone calls. Oh, really? That's definitely strange. Right? Well, forget about that for now. There's something I've been wanting to ask Mom for a while. I wondered what was up as Kevin suddenly became serious. What's wrong? You're being all formal out of the blue. Mom, you probably know already, I'm sure Cassie already told you, but dairy farming isn't exactly rolling in dough. So, the hospital bills for Dad, which we've been sending money for over 3 years now, at $4,000 a month, I cannot do it anymore. For a moment, I couldn't grasp what Kevin was saying. Huh? Dad passed away 3 years ago, didn't he? Why bring this up now? This time, it was Kevin who seemed surprised at my words. What? What do you mean? I didn't hear anything about my dad passed away. The conversation with Kevin just wasn't adding up. I calmly summarized the current conversation in my head. And then, I came to a certain conclusion. Before stating the conclusion, I decided to ask Kevin a question. By the way, whose number are you calling right now? Oh, this? It's my cell phone. I figured my old one had trouble connecting when I was far away, so I switched to a different carrier. Even if I tried calling from the landline at home, the phone's in my in-laws' room, and there's no public phone nearby. So, it seems he just signed up for a new contract after all. I asked if he had already told Cassie about it. And Kevin replied, No, I wanted to get in touch with Mom as soon as possible, so I signed up and called you first thing. I was planning to tell Cassie about it later. I see. By the way, what about the smartphone you used with the previous carrier? Did you cancel it already? No, I'm planning to use it until the end of this month, so it's still active. That was a relief. I thought there might be a reason why I couldn't reach Kevin, so I had already learned about the functions and settings of a smartphone from Emily beforehand. And then, I instructed Kevin to check the missed call list and blocked contacts on his old smartphone. Check the missed calls and blocked contacts in the phone app on that smartphone. Huh? Yeah, got it. Kevin said that as he hung up the phone. Then, a few minutes later, when the phone rang again, Kevin said apologetically, Sorry, Mom. I'm not really into messaging apps, so I didn't notice. My name was on your block list? Yeah. Emily's was on there too. Weird, huh? I don't remember doing something like this. Apparently, both my and Emily's names were also on the call block list. Moreover, it seemed that even the email address had been changed. The culprit was fairly easy to guess. The person who knew well that Kevin didn't usually check his smartphone much. The person must have taken advantage of Kevin being busy with his dairy farming job every day. However, I couldn't immediately tell Kevin who the culprit was. I gently probed so as not to shock Kevin too much. Kevin, you've been so busy with your unfamiliar dairy farming job that you didn't even notice your phone settings. That's understandable. Besides, your wife has to work as a company employee, with so many business trips. Huh? Business trips. For Cassie? And she's a company employee, what's that about? I was surprised by Kevin's reaction. Was Cassie lying even about such things? According to Kevin, Cassie wasn't working at all. And Cassie had apparently been telling Kevin and her own parents that she was coming to our house to take turns nursing my husband, who was her stepfather and had been in and out of the hospital. I couldn't believe what Cassie had been up to. It seemed she was just coming to the city to have fun, dressed all flashy in the downtown, just as Emily had seen her before. It's becoming clear now the string of misdeeds Cassie has been up to. When I mentioned it, Kevin responded in disbelief. No way. Cassie. She's been deceiving us, our family, all along. Yeah. I wonder if that $4,000 was also for living it up in the city. I also almost got mad at her. Kevin is all fired up to confront Cassie right away. While I wanted to rush over too, I decided to leave it to Kevin since it concerns their family. That night, I told Emily about the Kevin's phone call. Emily sat with her face that seemed to say, "Ah, I knew it." Mom said not to speak ill of Kevin's wife, so I kept quiet, but I always felt there was something off about Cassie. Still, I never imagined she was swindling Kevin out of $4,000 a month. Siblings often see more than their parents do, and Emily had a good intuition. I had simply thought that Emily, feeling overshadowed by her brother, harbored mistrust towards his wife. I'm sorry, Emily. If only I had trusted you a bit more, maybe I would have noticed the problem sooner. But, isn't Kevin at fault too? Not noticing anything strange with his phone for over 3 years. That absent-mindedness is just like Mom. Indeed, Kevin, who had been only known for his seriousness since childhood, became so engrossed in work that he lost sight of everything else. Maybe I'm not so different from him, never bothering to calmly observe my surroundings once I've made up my mind. At times like this, I thought again that I was lucky to have a reliable daughter. Though I managed to calm my nerves for the moment, I couldn't stay at ease forever. How would Kevin react to Cassie? I started worrying about whether he'd get the swindled money back. No, more importantly, will he be able to get along with Cassie from now on? As various thoughts swirled in my head, I became restless again. And then, the next day. Today was a holiday, and Emily was at home too. There, around midday, the doorbell suddenly rang. When I checked the monitor, Kevin and Cassie were there. As I opened the door, I saw Kevin, looking angry, tightly gripping Cassie's arm, who seemed on the verge of tears. It seemed Kevin had brought her forcibly. Mom, sorry for showing up out of the blue. I just had to bring Cassie here to apologize to you in person. Oh. All she did was just blocking me from the contact, so she didn't need to come all this way to apologize just for that. No, it's not just that. Kevin said, then glanced at Cassie. Now, Cassie, apologize properly by yourself. If you do, I'll let it slide just this once. Despite Kevin's urging, Cassie remained silent, keeping her head down. Then, Kevin reached into her bag and grabbed something. It was a collection of precious items like rings and necklaces that I kept in my room. This Cassie, she's still sometimes been coming here, hasn't she? While Mom had something going on, she'd sneak into the room and steal valuables. She was trying to hawk em on a flea market app, snapping pics with her phone. When I grilled her about something unfamiliar, Like what's this, she confessed. I can't believe she has embezzled a whopping $4,000, and even tried to sell mine without permission. I couldn't forgive her anymore, so I confronted Cassie while looking into her eyes. What were you planning to do with all that money you deceived? As I said in a firm tone, Cassie closed her eyes and looked down as if struck by lightning. Just then, Emily walked in. Cassie, you've been pouring money into the nightclubs in the downtown, haven't you? What? Is that true? But why would you know that, Emily? Kevin looked puzzled, glancing back and forth between Cassie and Emily. I had heard before that Emily had seen Cassie in the downtown, but I hadn't heard that she was going to nightclubs. Well, I'm curious about how you know. I asked, and Emily replied with a faint smile. Well, it turns out, my boyfriend's cousin, coincidentally, was working at a nightclub where I happened to see Cassie. Do you know this man, Matt? She asked Cassie, but she didn't say anything back. If she didn't know, she should have just said I don't know. Seeing Cassie not replying, Emily continued. Technically, leaking customers' personal information to outsiders is prohibited, but when I asked Matt, he immediately told me you were a regular. He said, for no one else but the beloved person of the cousin who grew up like a brother. Because of that, Matt got fired from the club. Emily then detailed the story she heard from Matt. Cassie had been keen on one bartender at the club and giving him expensive presents. Moreover, if she kept flying in from Vermont to visit, it would certainly cost a huge amount. When everything became clear, Cassie suddenly started shedding tears. After getting married, I suddenly started to miss the urban life. You see, there's no fun place back in my hometown. What? Is that the only reason? I was utterly dismayed by Cassie's incredibly childish statement. Despite it being Cassie who expressed the desire to live in her parents' house after marriage, this made her seem no different from a child. Well then, why didn't you tell me about it? Instead of gallivanting alone in the city, I would have gladly taken you back to my hometown frequently, gone out together in town. I didn't want that. I wanted to enjoy the city freely, just like when I was single. Besides, you're always busy with your work, and there's nowhere lively around. I couldn't stand such a life. All right then, shall we have you work to your heart's content in those lively places from now on? Suddenly, a voice of an unfamiliar man came from behind, and I felt startled. Who are you? Alex. Cassie muttered the name softly. He was like a bartender. This man called Alex greeted me. Hey there. Sorry for barging in like this out of the blue. Heard from Matt that Cassie was here. As Alex responded, he walked right in and lifted Cassie's chin with his fingertips. Hey, sweetheart. Appreciate the goodies you're giving me, but you gotta settle the debts that are piling up, Cassie was taken aback, feeling intimidated by Alex's accusation. Meanwhile, Emily was signaling me with her eyes. Seems like she's saying check your phone. Looking at the home screen of my smartphone, I saw a message from Emily. It said, I'm the one who told Matt that Cassie was here. And it must have been Matt who informed Alex about it. I decided to ask Alex for more details. According to Alex, Cassie started frequenting that joint about 3 years ago. It was around the time when I got busy with my husband's hospitalization and Cassie gradually stopped coming over to our place. Initially, she used to come over here under the pretense of going to the city, but finding it insufficient, she started visiting nightclubs. Cassie apparently fell for Alex at first sight. And it seems like Cassie was trying to win over Alex's favor by giving him with expensive watches and bags. Eventually, she ran out of money just covering the cost of the gifts, and decided to defer the set fees as accounts receivable to be paid at the end of each month. However, Cassie never managed to settle the accounts receivable, leaving them unpaid for over 2 years now. So, that's why Alex stormed in here. The outstanding balance is an amount Cassie, who isn't working, could never hope to pay. Cassie, desperate, looked towards Kevin with pleading eyes. Yet Kevin quickly looked away. What's up? You're not seriously asking me to foot the bill, are you? But, Kevin, earlier you said, if you told me, I'd let you have fun in the city. Please. I'm really in trouble. So, please, help me. Cassie pleaded with Kevin, clasping her hands together. Even Alex seemed stunned, mouth agape with an incredulous expression. It seems even Alex understands the situation enough not to say, have my husband pay for it. Kevin, still not making eye contact with Cassie, spoke with his back turned. Sorry, but I can't afford that. It's your own debt you got yourself into, Cassie, so figure it out on your own. That's not fair. Aren't you worried about me, Kevin? We're married, aren't we? Enough already. I couldn't hold back and yelled at Cassie. Continuously deceiving everyone in the family, thinking only of yourself. Who's going to help someone like you? It's your own fault, so deal with it yourself. The room fell into chaos at my loud voice. Tears welled up in Cassie's eyes, but despite that, Kevin had an expression that showed no mercy, and he glared at her. Cassie, desperately seeking forgiveness from Kevin, said with a pleading tone. Hey, Kevin. I'm sorry. I'll apologize to your mom right away. Please forgive me? It's too late for apologies now, Cassie. I see through your true intentions. Let's divorce. Sorry for your parents because they were so nice to me. But I divorce and I come back this house. What? No, I don't want that. Cassie desperately clung to Kevin's sleeve, pulling at it. To such a stubborn Cassie, I said firmly. Cassie. It's all your fault, so accept it and get a divorce. And make sure to work and pay back what you conned from Kevin and the unpaid bills at the nightclub. No. That's impossible. No, it's not impossible. Listen here, miss. As Alex said this, he grabbed Cassie's arm. What on earth was he planning to do? Perhaps sensing my inner turmoil, wondering if he was planning to make her work in some shady joint to pay off her debts like a scene from a drama, Alex glanced at me and Kevin. No need to worry, we won't resort to anything rough. We know how to handle things properly within the law. Come to think of it, earlier you mentioned letting Cassie work her heart out in a lively place, didn't you? When I asked, Alex explained in detail. Alex's hometown was a fishing town. There, due to young women leaving for the city, there was a shortage of female labor. So, many fishermen there want someone to take care of their daily needs at the port. How about it, Cassie? There are plenty of sophisticated men there, it's lively. If you come, we'll waive the outstanding balance at the shop. What? That's like human trafficking. Where's the legality in that? Whoa there. That's quite an accusation. I just want to help out in my hometown. Isn't it great that you found a suitable job? As expected of Alex, he sure knew how to present things. Even though the content was questionable, it was oddly convincing. By the way, fishermen have quite a bit of money. So if you take care of them, they'll be generous with your pay, and you can quickly repay the debt to this household. That's right. We need to sort things out properly and have you repay the debt. It's not often you find a job where you can earn that much. Cassie, still teary-eyed, looked at Kevin. But Kevin seemed determined about the divorce. After the divorce, it's up to you how Cassie repays the debt. Anyway, sign the divorce papers tonight. Cassie, after being told by Kevin, lowered her head with a resigned expression. A fishery. It's really in the countryside, isn't it? I have to live in the countryside again. Don't worry. It's just like Vermont, where you're from. You can always go back home once in a while. Alex reassured Cassie, and she seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, albeit slightly. But there seemed to be more to that story. After divorcing Kevin, Cassie came to an incredibly remote town. Cassie's hometown was within an hour's drive from an airport with connections to various parts of the country, and there was also a train station nearby. However, the fishing town she arrived was very far from the airport. It took over 4 hours by car to reach the nearest airport. The fishing town was busy every day, and it seemed impossible to get a day off. So, without a car, Cassie couldn't even return to her hometown. By the way, the fishermen in the fishing town were all hot-tempered. Despite being one of the few women around, Cassie was constantly berated without mercy. While it was a region suffering from a shortage of brides, no man seemed to see Cassie as a potential partner. This was because the elderly residents in the area claimed that Cassie is not suited to be a fisherman's wife. Even the younger fishermen believed what their elders said, and Cassie was simply exploited by everyone as a caregiver. In fact, messages detailing such circumstances were sent to Kevin's phone from Cassie almost every day. Does Cassie still harbor feelings for Kevin? Kevin is considering blocking her because she's annoying. However, he can't do that because he needs to keep in touch until she repays the debt. If only I had hired a lawyer. But I didn't have the money for that either. Yeah, I guess. By the way, how's Cassie doing now? Oh, she's still as busy as ever, doesn't even have time to go back home. Well, I already explained the situation to her parents, so they're also mad at Cassie and won't let her step foot in their home anymore. Hearing this, I felt a sense of satisfaction. When Kevin became a son-in-law and worked hard at his unfamiliar job in his in-laws' household, Cassie spent her time idly playing around. Now that she's experiencing the busy life in an unfamiliar environment, I hope she's truly feeling the consequences of her past actions. On the other hand, our family has been enjoying peaceful days since Kevin's return. And today is Emily's wedding. At the venue, Matt, who is the groom's cousin and helped us out during that incident, was present. After resigning as a bartender, Matt got a job at a regular company. Originally, during his university days, he was aiming to get employed by a corporation, but he graduated without finding a job, so it seems he was working at a nightclub. Actually, his father was laid off, and with 3 younger siblings to support, he needed a stable income desperately. Matt, whom I met for the first time at the venue, left a very good impression. Apparently, Matt still keeps in touch with Alex, who used to be his colleague at the club. Alex seems to be working hard now and is the #1 at the club. I see. Alex really helped me out a lot. It's a shame we won't be able to meet anymore, but please tell him thanks for everything. Sure, I'll let him know. Matt replied with a smile. Having such wonderful relatives makes me happy too. Before I knew it, Kevin was chatting happily with a female relative from the groom's side. This might be a sign that our family is about to expand again. You never know where connections with people will lead you. If Kevin also meets a nice person, our family and relatives will keep growing, making things lively. I'll cherish the connection with such wonderful people for as long as I live.